Who was the most notorious, powerful, and villainous eunuch in Chinese history? The power of eunuchs in China. The first example from history of a eunuch rising to such power that he controlled the fate of the destiny was Zhao Gao, who died in 207 BC, who conspired with Li Si to control the succession after the death of the first Qin emperor. One of the most powerful and corrupt eunuchs was Wang Zhen, who died in 1449 and effectively ruled the empire during the regency of Ming Emperor Zhengtong, and it was he that led the disastrous northern campaign to subjugate Mongolia. However, none of these were known for the level of treachery that accompanied the eunuch Wei Zhongxian, who lived from 1568 until 1627. Wei is long considered to have been the most notorious, the most powerful, as well as the most villainous of ancient China's eunuchs. Wei Zhongxian grew to have the power rivaling that of an emperor and attempted to found his own dynasty through adopting his nephew into the imperial family. This power was created for him through the weakness of the Ming dynasty emperor Tianqi, who chose to spend his time avoiding the administrative duties required of an imperial ruler. Together with Madame Ke, Wei has been partially blamed for one of the reasons why the Ming dynasty collapsed. Following the rise of the Qing dynasty in the mid-17th century, the Qing Emperor Kangxi curtailed the power of eunuchs, reducing their ability to reply to petitions destined for the emperor. In addition to reducing the number of eunuchs within the royal court to less than 800. Emperor Shuza, keen not to repeat the mistakes of the Ming dynasty, had a tablet on prominent display warning of the perils of eunuch power. Empress Dowager Cixi referred to eunuchs as rats and foxes, fawning sycophants and artful minions. Despite these views, she allegedly formed close alliances with An De Hui and Li Liang Ying, who both rose to positions of great power. In this video, we will look at the life of the most notorious of those eunuchs, Wei Zhongxian. Wei Zhongxian. Wei Zhongxian was born about 1568 and considered by most historians as the most notorious eunuch in Chinese history. He is known for his service in the imperial court of the Tianqi emperor in the late Ming dynasty, when the power he held was considered to have become almost equal to that of the emperor. During his time as ruler, Tianqi was uninterested in affairs of the royal court. This enabled Wei to abuse his power, issue edicts to promote those he favored and demote those he didn't. When the Chongzhen emperor ascended to the throne in 1627, he received complaints about Wei, and the eunuch was arrested. Wei then committed suicide before any charges against him could be heard. 161 officials were then punished, while another 24 of Wei's associates were executed. Wei's early life. Little is recorded of his early life. What is known is he was illiterate throughout his life and strongly indicates he was from a poor background, possibly a peasant or a merchant class family. He is believed to have been born in or around 1568 in Suning County, around 160 kilometers to the southeast of Beijing. He was believed to have married, but then had himself castrated at the age of 21, with Ming records stating this was in order to escape his gambling debts. There are other stories in popular Chinese culture about his early life, with many claiming he was a ruffian and a compulsive gambler. Early court life. Through a relative of his mother, Wei was able to gain service in the Forbidden City as an imperial eunuch. As a eunuch within the main court, he was able to gain favor of various officials while working in unofficial positions. In 1605, Wei was given the role of serving meals to Lady Wang and her infant son, Zhu Yaojiao, who would later become the Tianqi Emperor. While serving in this position, Wei grew close to Zhu Yaojiao's wet nurse, Madame Ke. As Zhu Yaojiao grew older, he was extremely attached to both Madame Ke and Wei Zhongxian, even treating them as his de facto parents when his mother died in 1619. Political rise 1620 to 1624. In 1620, first, the Ming Emperor died, then his successor, the Taichung Emperor, died just 29 days after becoming crowned emperor. This left the palace bureaucracy in a succession crisis. The Taichung Emperor's death, possibly by poisoning, brought Madame Ke, Wei Zhongxian, and Zhu Yujiao under the supervision of Lady Li, the Taichung Emperor's consort. Zhu hated Lady Li, and Donglin activist Yang Liang also did not want Lady Li in power, and China falling under the temporary rule of a regent, as at that time Zhu Yujiao was only aged 15 and too young to become emperor in his own right. Yang Liang entered the Forbidden City, captured Zhu Yujiao and proclaimed him the emperor. This maneuver deposed Lady Li while providing advantages to both Wei and Madame Ke to influence decisions of the imperial court. Shortly after Zhu Yujiao became the Tianqi Emperor, it was clear he had no interest in affairs of state, only showing an interest in carpentry and building projects. All imperial court matters were left to Wei, who was promoted to the role of Eunuch of the Directorate of Ceremonial and Grand Secretaries. Wei's loyalty to the Tianqi Emperor was paying dividends, as by 1625 he had been elevated to the role of Minister of the Eastern Depot, in control of a force of over 1,000 uniformed police headquartered in the Forbidden City. In his role as the Tianqi Emperor's de facto father and protector, Wei became responsible for delivering imperial edicts and eventually any order from the palace was issued in the name of the emperor as well as Wei's. 14 of Wei's relatives were ennobled or received hereditary military positions. Some even received positions of high officialdom. As fear of Wei's power became more and more prevalent, many officials commissioned the building of temples in honor of Wei. This was much to the chagrin of Confucian scholars. Donglin Incidents 1624 to 1627. The Wang Emperor had a long but underwhelming reign of 48 years, ending with his death in 1620. The Donglin faction of activist scholars had hoped that the Taichung and Tianqi emperors would turn out to be Confucian scholars. However, when the Tianqi emperor proved to be as indifferent on imperial duties as his grandfather had been, an illiterate eunuch became the most powerful person within the Forbidden City. This meant that Donglin scholars felt they were forced to intervene. Zhou Zongjian was a Donglin sympathizer and Ming censor. He moved to impeach Wei Zhongxian in July 1622, imploring that the emperor remove the influential eunuch from the royal palace. In 1624, Yang Liang wrote a memorial to Tianqi condemning Wei of 24 crimes, some of which were in fact fabricated. Both of the above attempts to quell the control of Wei were unsuccessful and turned Wei against the Donglin party. As head of the Eastern Depot, Wei Zhongxian had the power to arrest and convict dissidents. However, this level of power was technically confined to peasants and merchants. Despite this, Wei ordered arrests and interrogations of officials through the embroidered or uniform guard, the emperor's police force within the Forbidden City, and under the direction of Director Xu Xianchun. Wei's true power came to the fore through his close relationship with the emperor. In 1625, he arranged for Shu to arrest 6 of the Donglin party leaders. One of those was Yang Lian, who had earlier accused Wei of squandering public money. Shu subjected Yang and the 5 others arrested to lengthy interrogations, including torture. Eventually, all 6 of those arrested died. Shu then arrested another 7 Donglin scholars, including Zhao Gao, who had attempted to impeach Wei in 1622. Those 7 also all died in custody. Over a period of 2 years, hundreds of other Donglin sympathizers were demoted or removed from government positions by Shu and the embroidered uniform guard. Although Wei's actual involvement in those arrests and killings cannot be proven, his overall control of the palace and holding the power of the emperor's edict ensured he had knowledge of these events and therefore some degree of being culpable. Fall from power and suicide. With the death of the Tianqi emperor in 1627, many people at the time expected Wei to attempt to seize the throne. However, no such coup happened. According to Li Sanzhe, a Donglin sympathizer, Wei had previously attempted to convince Empress Shang to adopt his nephew, Wei Langqing, in order to continue manipulating the throne. However, the empress refused, and because none of the Tianqi emperor's 3 sons lived to adulthood, the emperor conferred the right to rule to his younger brother, Zhu Yujian, who became the Chongzhen emperor on the 2nd of October 1627. Although the Chongzhen emperor was intent on ruling without the influence of eunuchs or other surrogates, he did not immediately dismiss Wei. However, in the months after the Chongzhen emperor came to power, multiple complaints began emerging about Wei. Complaints of a level the emperor could not ignore, and he had asked for evidence of Wei's wrongdoing from court officials. In response to this request, Chongzhen received over 100 complaints against Wei. On December 8, 1627, an edict was issued by the Chongzhen emperor listing Wei's crimes, and Wei was exiled to Fenyang in today's province of Anhui. As Wei was traveling to Fenyang, warnings emerged that Wei might work with other demoted officials of the deceased Tianqi emperor in staging a rebellion. Acting on this warning, the Chongzhen emperor ordered the embroidered uniform guard to arrest Wei and bring him back to Beijing. Wei was told of this by informants on December 13th. That night at an inn, Wei and his secretary hanged themselves from the inn's rafters using their own belts. The retribution for Wei's political allies was swift as well as severe. In early 1628, Wei's corpse was dismembered and left on display in his native village as a warning to others. By 1629, 161 of Wei's associates had been punished by the Chongzhen emperor, with 24 of those being executed. Madame Ke was beaten to death by an interrogator just 11 days after Wei had taken his own life. Legacy and dramatizations. Since his death, Wei has been seen as an instigator of Zhu Liaojiao's abuse of power and collective atrocities by the Chinese people. Historical Chinese scholars claim Wei's faults lay not so much in his persecution of the Donglin party, but in wielding power that is supposed to be reserved only for emperors. Stories of this persecution began just months after Wei's death and gained a large public audience. In 2009, there was a 42-hour primetime television series on Chinese television dramatizing the story of Wei Zhongxian and Madame Ke's abuse of power during the reign of the Tianqi emperor. Both instigators were shown in a negative light. That brings us to the end of this video, highlighting a historical era that has helped shape China today. If you've enjoyed watching and it's shown you a little detail of life and events here in China, then your subscribing to my channel would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click on the link to the next video, and until the next time, Goodbye for now.